Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bikepack Adventures Podcast. In this episode of the podcast, we are sharing the story of a very personal journey, a 2-week family trip through northern France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Joined by my wife, who is taking on her first loaded bike tour, and our young daughter, we set out to explore the coastal charm, rich culture, and world-class cycling infrastructure of northern France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Over the course of this episode, we'll walk you through the planning, gear choices, and daily rhythms of traveling as a family by bike. We'll reflect on what it's like to parent on the move, how we kept our child engaged, and how we adjusted our pace to match the needs of the entire crew. Along the way, we discovered vibrant cities like Bruges, Den Haag, Breda, Antwerp, and Ghent, stumbled into memorable meals, and met locals who remind us of why bike touring is such a powerful way to connect with the world. Whether you're planning your first family tour or just curious about what it's like to ride with a toddler in tow, this episode is packed with insights, stories, and a few laughs from the road. Seema, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a long 6 years.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I've been listening. I've been a supporter Patreon for 6 years, but I'm finally in the podcast. I interviewed Mariam in 2019. That was the last time I was in the podcast. Mariam is originally from Iran. She's living in Mexico now, in Ensenada. She was bikepacking in Cambodia, and we were living in
With her
Cambodia with her
soon-to-be husband.
soon-to-be husband. Now it's her husband. And now she has her own YouTube video called La Vida de Mariam. She shows her life in Mexico, and they're very interesting. Actually, if you're interested in learning more about the country, check her YouTube out. It's in Persian and Spanish.
Neither of which I speak. We are back, and we did a pretty amazing trip. We got back around 3 weeks ago, I think, and we first recorded this episode about a week ago, and unfortunately had a complete meltdown of our house internet with literal component breaking or something, and Bell had to come fix it. So we are now re-recording because it couldn't save. Um, yeah, this summer it was pretty interesting the way things worked out. We had plans, they fell through, and I quickly got online and started to figure out what kind of flights I could find to Europe. We had this idea about a year ago was to do a bike tour. Initially, I thought Stockholm down to Belgium where we had some friends, and that was all kind of changing, and it made more sense just to find the cheapest tickets and make your own adventure through that. You want to add some details, sweetheart?
Yes, so very. So Chris is a teacher. He only has the summers to travel, and unfortunately, teachers can take time off during the school year. So we've always talked about bike touring in Europe, but I was always nervous because Jasmine was very young. And very recently, we talked about one of us would plan a summer. So this year, 2025, was Chris's time to plan the summer. 2026, next year is my time. And as Chris said, we had other plans that they fell through and they fell off. And very last minute, we're like, oh, we only have 1 month left in the summer, or Chris's school break. Let's plan something. So Chris sat in front of his computer and found a cheap flight from Ottawa to London, direct flight with Air Canada, and it was how much? Very cheap,
About $400 a person.
$400 per person. And Jasmine, when we did this bike packing, was 3.5 years old. So three of us flew to London. I have a best friend living in London. Her name is Shadi. We stayed with her for a week,
About 8 days.
8 days, and we didn't do any biking. So we just did sightseeing, met with friends, and
It
had
was
fun.
really a really phenomenal week in London. I had a chance to meet up with my buddy Michael, who he's from Ireland, and we used to live in Russia at the same time, and I hadn't seen him in 17 years. And he just so happened to be in London for a wedding that weekend, so I had a chance to meet with him and another really good buddy of mine, John, and John and I was at his wedding maybe 10 or 11 years ago, and this time we got to hang out with him and his wife and his daughters, and they took us sightseeing, and And then another day we met up with him and did lunch, and yeah, it was really great,
Yeah, we met
as
with
well as
our
Seamus.
friends Wayne and Nina in London. Met up with my Iranian friends Fatima and Arash. It was just a very good week
Very
and
packed week, it felt
very
like.
packed, but very interesting, very fun. And then from London, we took a train to Dover,
Yeah,
and then from Dover's train station, we rode our bicycles to the ferry,
yeah.
where we took the ferry to Dunkirk in north of France. And we really started our bike touring from Dunkirk. So we went north of France to Belgium and Netherlands, and then from Netherlands to Belgium, and we stopped at Ghent. And from Ghent, we took a train to Lille in France, and then another train from Lille to Paris. And
Yeah.
we stopped in Paris. We flew back direct flight from Paris to
Luckily, we were flying Air
Ottawa.
Transat and not Air Canada because they had a work stoppage right at that time, and there was a lot of stress going on with everybody we knew that happened to be traveling at the
Yeah,
time.
we were lucky.
Um, yeah, so when I said earlier that it was Seema's first loaded tour, I mean, we had done some loaded overnighters where she's had her e-bike, and we did also the Pitsy Tynesnar, which is a 200-kilometer route when Jasmine was 6 months old. But on that one, we were all unloaded. I would just race back every day and
Yeah,
pick up the SUV with the little mini caravan trailer. And so this was Seema's first time carrying luggage, and the idea
not
of
first time carrying luggage
sorry,
on
carrying
a
luggage.
regular bike.
Yeah, carrying luggage on a normal bike for multiple days. And the idea behind this route was that it would connect to friends, but also is some countries with really good bike infrastructure and very flat. So the only thing I had to worry about was wind. Yeah, so that was kind of the idea with the route. At first, I thought we should cycle to Paris, and but then Seema said, "Well, is there a way we could go to Netherlands? I have a really good friend, and I know her as well, Mojgan, and her husband Ali." And she said, "If we can go up to Netherlands, we can visit my friends and do some sightseeing with them." And so we just modified, and I think this was all planned within about 10 days of departure. So
Yeah, I
very,
messaged Shadi
very
and said, "Are you around?" And this is summer when people always plan things ahead. I said, "Are you around if Chris and Jasmine and I come to London?" And she called me. She was so thrilled. She was like, "Yeah, come early August." It was her son's first birthday too that we were in London. We celebrated together. And then I messaged Mojgan. I didn't even know which city in Netherlands she lives, and I said like, "Are you around if I come to Netherlands?" And then she called me. She was super excited, and I realized she actually lives in Den Haag, and
that
she
is the
said
Hague for all
The
English
Hague, yeah.
speakers.
And then she took 3 days off work while we
Yeah,
were there.
yeah.
So it was just very exciting to see like friends are available and we could connect with them. Yeah.
Hmm. And then we had other friends. So as she mentioned, Wayne and Nina, they had them and their kids were just in the process of leaving Antwerp and moving to Slovakia. So they just happened to be in London, so we spent a day with them there. But at the same time, one of my old coworkers from Malaysia was recruited by Wayne to work at the international school, so we had a chance to see Matt in Antwerp as well. So really, like everywhere we went, it felt like we were visiting friends that we hadn't seen in years, or in the case of Mojgan, we had seen her within a year or two.
We
Uh,
met up with our friend's daughter
oh
in
yeah, and our friend's daughter.
Middleburg in Netherlands. To me, when I travel, like cycling to me is just a vehicle to get to places, but the fact that I can meet up with friends that I haven't met or family I haven't met for a while, that's more exciting than cycling
Mm.
personally. So the highlights were really meeting up with Jordi in Middelburg, Matt in Antwerp, Mojgan in Den Haag, Shadi, Fatima, Arash, and your friend
Yeah,
John
and you
in
had a lot of
Belgium.
friends in London that we saw. Like,
Yeah, multiple friends
mhm,
in Wayne, Nina. Yeah, it's too many to count.
yeah. So let's jump into the bikes. This is the interesting part. When we planned it originally, I was and it has nothing to do about the size of the luggage and stuff because as an ex-military member, I do get free luggage on most Canadian airlines. So just take some planning of your flights to make sure that you're flying on a Canadian airline. Um, Actually, I think I get free luggage on American Airlines as well as a ex-service member. But I thought if we brought the folding bikes, it would make more sense because I knew we'd be mixing in some trains and some buses and subways and whatnot. And the idea there would be it would just be easier if we had to fold them up or pack them down. We could just do that. Um, I think overall it was a good decision. But on this trip, maybe not really necessary. Maybe our gravel bikes would have been more comfortable, faster, um, just an all around better ride. And the infrastructure was much better than I had anticipated. So it probably wasn't really necessary to bring the folded bikes. But I could see how the folded bikes could be really advantageous if we go bike touring in some other places in the future. Our setup was very traditional. I had my Bike Friday New World Tourist. It's a steel folding bike that's made to feel like kind of a normal bike, and it has racks on the front and back. So I had some tailfin panniers that Tailfin hooked us up with when I went to see them while we were in London. Took a train to Bath, or sorry, a bus to Bath. Cycled to Bristol, visited them, had a tour of the operations there, cycled back to Bath, and just a really, really great day on the bike. With the bags that we needed that were slightly larger than what I already had. And so we packed those up, and that was our trip bags. I had two 16-liter bags on the back of my bike, two 10-liters on the front. Seema had the tailfin rack on her folding bike, which was a little high and made it all a little bit more wobbly than it needed to be, which she can tell you a really funny story about after. And on the back, she had two 16-liter bags and the AT20. It's an 18-liter top rack top bag. So, yeah, funny story time. Leaving.
So I know when people start, they want to go on a bike tour, they usually rehearse with their bags before they
Test
travel,
ride,
test ride,
shakedown ride. Yeah.
shakedown, whatever it's called. But I was working long hours before our trip because I had to make sure that I take care of my projects. I do project management before taking almost 3 weeks vacation. So by the time I was done working, I was too tired to pack a bag and test ride. So one night before we left Ottawa, I packed, and
You never
when
wrote it.
I never rode it, and actually had not ridden my folding bike for many years too because
It had been broken.
it was
Yeah.
broken, and Chris very recently fixed it, and since it was fixed, I hadn't really had a chance to ride it, but I had this amazing electronic shifting that I didn't.
She had a Shimano Alphine Di2 internal hub. So, yeah, I mean, it's super, super sweet.
Yeah. So, but I had no chance or time to ride it before the trip. And we went to London. We stayed with Shadi for 8 days, and then from Shadi's home, we started riding to the
The
train
train station.
station.
Yeah.
So Chris put all the bags that I was supposed to take with me on my bike, and all my weight was in the back. Yeah? So I had
Hmm.
no front
The front
panniers.
end is very light
So
on that bike.
and then the rack was too high, and as he said, it made my bike wobbly. And I started riding. Everything was like, when you're on a boat and you're like wobbling, like it
Hmm.
was that kind of feeling. And then Shadi, my friend, got worried. I was like, Sima, are you sure you can do this? I was like, I don't know. And then, like how little kids, they're trying to train
They're
and,
all
and
over the
learn.
road.
The parents hold the back of the
Oh,
bike
yeah.
so they can balance. And then they ride. And then after a while, the parents leave, they like take their hand off, and then they just go. It was like that. So Shadi was holding the back of my bike, and I was riding. And she was like, "You okay? You can balance?" I was like, "I think so. Let go of your hand." And then like I rode, but it was very difficult because uh it was the first time I'm riding that bike with all the bags. and then we go to the streets and to get to the train station. And London roads are very narrow, and they're like these
Yeah, you were
buses
very
that
slow and
I
nervous.
I was very nervous, but then I got used to it. Like I'm always like that. Like for me, the start is always difficult, but then after that, like my
And I think that was like getting from Shadi's house to St. Pancras International Station to catch the train to Dover was probably the hardest transiting we did on the entire trip.
yeah.
Frustrating. It was just elevators and like one bike at a time. Or I'd take the two bikes and then Sima would push the chariot, which was being pulled behind my bike, which I had to disconnect each time. Um, so frustrating. We literally, the last train to get to the train station, we almost missed it. And I think if we had missed that train, we would have missed our train because we got there about 4 minutes before it
So I think
left.
we had planned to be there 1 hour
Thir-
earlier,
30 or 40 minutes
but
early.
we
Yeah.
got there 7 minutes
Yeah.
earlier because their elevators are old. They call them lift in UK. So they're old. They were lucky that at least there was an elevator. Many of their train
Hmm.
stations are have only
Well,
stairs.
that's why I planned it with the train from Shadi's because
But
I knew if
yeah,
we took the train,
yeah, we
there
could
was lift.
actually check if those stations have
Hmm.
elevator or not. But because they're old, they're also built small, so they don't fit two folding bikes and the chariot and three of us. So we had to take multiple trips, and that really took a long time.
Yeah, it really, really delayed things. But anyways, we made it. And it was fantastic, you know. I don't know what else to say about that. Yeah, Jasmine was in a chariot. It was like like the Thule chariots, but the old versions that were sold by a Canadian company before Thule bought them. And she was really good in there. As Seema mentioned, her bike had a electronic shifting of an internal hub. Mine with the and also the nice thing about the Birdie is it has a elastomer suspension at the back and front of the bike. So it's got a little bit of suspension and, like if you hit bumps, there's some absorption there. The Bike Friday doesn't. So on mine, the last few years, I've been running it with a Redshift seat post and a stem as well. So it just kind of absorbs all those little shocks and bumps from small wheels hitting big things. And on top of that, I had a B17 Brooks saddle on my bike, and yeah, we carried all the normal tools that you would carry on any bike trip, some spare shifting cables. Not that I figured I would need any for her. Um, Spare shifting cables, spare nuts and bolts, and some, multi tools and pumps and stuff like that. No real breakdowns except the little latch on the back of Seema's Birdie. In transit from Canada, it must have got jammed against something and broke, so I had to zip tie the rear swing arm in place, so it would just stayed as a non-folding bike for the back half. But that worked really well, and yeah, thank God, because I didn't know what I would do otherwise.
You had a pedal problem that you
Uh,
needed an Allen key.
well, I did have one problem later on. Yeah, one of my crank was actually coming loose, and I didn't have a big enough Allen key to tighten the cap. So once you tighten the crank on, I could do that. I couldn't get the cap tight enough to stop the inner bolt from coming loose. So we saw a farm, and this was probably on day 6 or 7. It was
I don't remember.
on the way to Antwerp, so day 7 of our riding. So it was one of the last days. And I saw a farm, and I saw a lady in the barn area and full of tools, like the workshop. So I just pulled in there and asked her if she had an Allen key. She had no idea what I was talking about, but said, "Come on in." She thought I was talking about a socket because English, Belgian, Flemish, different languages. But when I saw the Allen keys on the bench, I grabbed those, and sure enough, they were metric because it's Europe and they fit. So I fixed it. And I think she was surprised that I needed such a tool for such a simple fix and that it was good enough.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was just about the only mechanical issue
only
we had.
yeah.
No flats, nothing else. Yeah. Let's talk about packing and preparation. Anything that you packed that you wish you hadn't have packed?
Uh, for me, the rain pants, rain doesn't bother me. We never used it. We were lucky that it didn't actually rain
It never
when we
rained,
were
huh?
riding, but I don't think even if it rained, I would have put the rain pants on.
Yeah, it was summer. We
Um,
didn't really need them.
and rain jacket. I had a rain jacket and a sweater. Again, rain doesn't bother me. Getting wet doesn't bother me that much. But my jacket is very very light too. So maybe I would
I
have
think you
taken
wouldn't
it.
want to pass up on the rain jacket because if you happen to be stuck in rain for a whole day, but I know in your mind you're like, well, we just wouldn't ride,
Yeah, I wouldn't ride. Yeah,
and we would just take a
I'm not
bus or a train.
racing. Yeah,
So probably maybe in this case it wouldn't have been necessary because we probably would have just figured out some alternative means of transport. But we never had rain issues, and so
yeah.
yeah, we really didn't need the rain pants. But the rain jackets I still would
Mhm.
have brought.
And for shoes, I had my Birkenstock sandals and my Keen sandals and the Nike shoes. I think between the Keen sandals and Nike shoes, I would have chosen just one. Um,
What do you think you would have brought?
Probably the Nikes only because I had Birkenstock as sandals, so I
Hmm.
didn't need
So to have
Keen
like an
sandals
actual
ever.
footwear that's
Yeah, the Nikes, but the problem is that I bought those Nikes a day or two before our trip, so I had not really used it that much. I thought they were comfortable. They had very good reviews online, but I knew my Keen sandals are very, very comfortable.
right.
So I wanted to make sure that if the Nikes are not comfortable, I would just throw them out. I bought them for $70 or $60 on sale, and I was like, if it's too bad, I'll just throw it out. But I have my Keen sandals that I'm comfortable and I'm
And
confident
were
in
they
them.
okay?
They were okay. Yeah, they were
Okay.
okay. And my shoe size is a small, so my shoes don't take so much space like
Yeah, one
Chris
pair,
does.
two pairs of your shoes are one of
Yeah.
mine. Yeah.
And then, so the rain gears, one shoe, and the other thing that I would have not taken was like makeup stuff. I think I took too much, too many lipsticks. Again, they don't take much space. They don't weigh that much, but I didn't use them when I was riding. I didn't really put any makeup
And when we
except
get
the
somewhere, you don't
sunscreen.
feel like it, anyways.
Yeah, but like I didn't need like 10 lipsticks. Probably were okay with two or three. But
Or
that's so
one or none.
yeah. For Jasmine, we took some stuffed toys. They're
I didn't know
very
anything
light.
Jasmine had
Yeah.
planned, like packed other than clothes and then
She
other
packed
stuff.
herself, and then we went through it and actually made it less than what she packed. But she took some stuffed toys. They're bulky. They're very still small. They're not like these big
They
teddy
just take a lot
bears,
of space in your bag.
but they take space. Yeah. And she had too many tights, and she also had her Crocs, sandals, and one like sneakers.
But I have to say, maybe it was the day before we left, or maybe the morning of the day before. I went into the bedroom and Jasmine's aunt and her grandma were helping her pack, and they had something like 20 pairs of underwear out. They had 20 pairs of socks out, and they're like, one for every day. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, the world has washing machines. We don't need that much
Yeah,
stuff.
especially when
So we got rid of a lot of that.
you're not traveling with a suitcase. You have to.
Yeah.
But we got rid of some of Jasmine's clothes in Den Haag when we met up with Mojgan. We donated them to. There was a UNICEF drop off, and when we were in Middelburg in Netherlands, I put some of her clothes and one pair of shoes in the hotel, and I put like a paper and I wrote free on it because she's growing very fast, and some of her two pairs of her shoes weren't fitting her very well. And most of the time, she was just wearing her Crocs.
Always
So we
wearing her
got rid of
Crocs.
her sneakers and got rid of her sandals, and because she was okay with her Crocs.
We actually asked her, do you want to
Yeah,
keep these
she
away? And she
agreed.
said, okay.
And but we got so yeah, I would have taken less tights, shoes, and stuffed toys for
Mm.
Jasmine. Did you have anything that you would have not taken?
I didn't bring that much stuff. Not really sure. I mean, I had a pair of pants, a very light pair, and long sleeve shirt that was very light, and I never ever used them. But you never know. You know, if you would have had a really cold night, you wish you had them. So I'm glad I brought them. They didn't take much space. Um, Essentially, I used one 16-liter bag for my stuff, one 16-liter bag for Jasmine's, and then the 10-liter ones on the front of my bike were for like one of them had, I don't know, some spare tubes and towels, like beach towels, like the small can, like, you know, travel towels. And the other one had the rain gear. So not a lot. Um, and then Seema had her bags on her bike. She had her work laptop and mouse and these things as well because she had to work half days the week we were in London, which was a real pain for her. But
Yeah, definitely, if I could, I would have not taken my laptop
mm,
with me. I had this tailfin bag that has a sleeve for laptop,
yeah, they did hook us up with that.
but
You tail fin them?
yeah. So and it was like a full size 14-inch laptop. It wasn't just a tablet that doesn't take so much
Yeah, yeah.
space. I think next time, if I really
Could
have
you go
to,
with your Surface tab?
no, I think now I'm thinking about it. If this happens again, that I have to travel and take a work laptop, I'll ask my employer to set up my Surface laptop, a Surface
Oh,
tablet.
okay. I was gonna
So
say
I
you
can
could have
just
it set
take
up.
that. Yeah, I could have asked them to
Mm,
put tools on it and let me take that.
that would have been ideal. Um, Traveling with a child. Let's jump into that topic. I think that interests a lot of people. I do hear about it at the Canadian Shield
Mhm.
Bikepacking Summit. Is always one of those things people want to know more about. Jasmine is 3.5 years old, and she handled the journey really, really well. It was quite unpredictable, but she loves being on a bike. So that is one of the really good things about this trip is we know already she loves to try, like she loves to be on the bike. She typically loves to be on the Mac ride, which is kind of like a kid's ride shotgun in front of me. But with the folding bikes, I couldn't bring that. So that was another downside to not bringing a bigger bike. In some ways, I wish we could have brought full size bikes, then we could have brought that little seat and she could have ridden in front with us and had a different experience too.
Explain.
Um, yeah.
She saw these cargo bikes in
Oh,
Netherlands,
yeah.
and
She saw the
she
front.
really and she kept saying, "Mama, when we go back to Canada, can you buy me these
Thank God she's
bikes?"
forgotten about it because we can't
She
afford it.
really likes the cargo bikes. So
Yeah. She sees like you know, the ones with the big baskets in the front, you know, where kids have seats and stuff. And they're all over the place there. And she saw them and she really liked those. Anyways, can't afford it. She did learn one thing I think that was really beneficial on this trip that I've kind of mentioned to a lot of people when I talk about it is she learned to be bored, you know? As a teacher, I think a lot of kids don't learn how to be bored these days. You get on a car trip, here's a tablet, here's a phone, here's a watch this movie, don't bug us. And so kids never have that opportunity to learn what boredom is. And on a trip like this, we couldn't always give her a device and we rarely do anyways. But there was a couple days where we let her call her grandma to just give us some peace when she was really being cranky and bored, and we were trying to get somewhere. But for the most part, it was playing word games and looking at things as we rode our bikes and singing songs um and then she would just entertain herself. At some point, she would just play with her food or play with her toys. She had little booklets with markers, and she would just color in them. And I think that was really, really good. What are your thoughts?
think we never started too early. We
Always around
took our
checkout.
time,
So
yeah.
yeah, it was really late
So
starts.
we would wake up, have our breakfast, take our time, check out from our hotel, and then we usually started around noon, right? And
Yeah,
then
11, 12.
yeah, so by then, like, she already had like a morning with us. She had breakfast, she played and things like that. She doesn't watch cartoon generally on
Sometimes in a
TV, like
hotel,
just in the hotel,
yeah,
but like not on phone. So we never give her our phones to watch
yeah.
cartoon. Like I'm not judging the parents that do that, but it's just that not us. Like
We don't have a TV upstairs in our house, so she's never grown into that habit of having a TV on. And she doesn't have an older sibling here with her, where like our friends that have kids her age, they have an older sibling that watches TV. They're like normal teenagers. And so they have this
Yeah.
sense of like this is something you do,
Yeah.
but Jasmine doesn't have that. So
Jasmine doesn't even know the cartoons out there like Bluey,
she
this,
doesn't. Yeah,
that. Like she only knows who Barbie
Barbie.
is. And so yeah, so we start around noon, and then by the time we start riding, it's almost lunchtime. So we would stop. We took many breaks. Whenever we saw
What
these
was Jasmine's?
splash
Yeah,
pads, we had her maillot, she calls it, her swimsuit on top of the bag, so we could just open the bag and find the
swimsuit
swimsuit easily.
as well
So
as the
we would
towel
stop
was
and
right
the
there.
towel. So we stop. We let her play in the splash pad, and then we have lunch. And then she gets very tired because she would play for an hour, sometimes hour and a half. And then we start riding. She would take small naps in the chariot. And then when she wakes up, we would probably stop again
She
for
usually
her
wanted ice
to,
cream by
yeah,
then
we
or
would.
something.
And the good thing in Europe is that like everything is accessible. There's like grocery stores, restaurants, ice cream
Yeah, and we
shops.
talked about this recently. I think like we were saying that one of the biggest difference with Canada and somewhere like Belgium and Netherlands is Canada has really good bike infrastructure for
Leisure.
leisure, just for getting out there and going for a ride. But over there, their bike infrastructure is for living. It's you could ride your bike to the grocery store, you could ride it to the gas station. Like, why would you need to go there? Who knows? But everywhere is connected by bike, where here it's just along the rivers and along some canals or old train lines, and that's about it, which is great. Like it's a good start, but it's
Yeah.
definitely there's room for improvement here in Canada.
I should also say now I'm thinking about it is that maybe it was easier for us and Jasmine is because Jasmine knows how to play solo.
She is
Even
yeah, she's an only child, so
and I think that's also her character. Like when her teacher gave us her report card last year, I remember she had written that Jasmine likes to play on her own, and it's not because she feels isolated or she's sad. She just enjoys mm, being by herself.
mhm.
And she does that at daycare too. She has a couple of
She
best
only
friends.
plays with like two
Yeah,
friends.
and then if they're not around, she's very happy to play by herself. She plays very well with
Yeah,
her best
yeah.
friends, but somehow knows to entertain herself. So I guess that is something that we were lucky. So I would recommend to parents that they want to travel with toddler is that teach their kid like how to play by themselves, like do coloring or give them fidget
Yeah,
toys
and I
they can
think a good
play
part of
with.
that is like starting them off with you, doing some Play-Doh and then saying, "Okay, keep playing and I'll be back." And then
Yeah,
like go and come back and like give them breaks where they're playing by themselves. And I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a solid
yeah.
theory, but
And then Jasmine likes some snacks very much. Like Jasmine really loves fruits, like
croissants.
tangerines, croissants too, grapes. So we kept buying those snacks for her too, and we had it in the little pocket in her chariot. So she was happy just eating her snacks, and she was entertained by eating those things. We
Yeah.
stopped in Amsterdam and bought her some Tony's chocolate. She was very happy to eat those little chocolate balls. They were like little chocolate balls. I think that's what they're called. So
Yeah, they were like chocolate with like caramels or
mhm.
whatever. Yeah. And I think for the most part, we had really no trouble with her. The biggest problems we had with Jasmine on the entire trip were actually when we weren't biking, days where we were not biking the next day, but we were, with friends and stayed out really late. And, the next day she just woke up really, really overly tired. We went to bed at like 1 a.m. and she probably didn't fall asleep till like 12 something when we were on the train. And um, basically just made the next day a living hell for us. But it was out of her control. It was our own fault. So we learned the hard way. I think by this time it happened the second time is where I clued into what exactly why she's behaving the way she is, and we had a little talk about it, and we're like, okay, let's not replicate that. So when we reached Antwerp, actually, and we went to the bar with Matt and Jasmine was there, she was tired around 10 something. We were also tired. We'd cycled a big day, and we decided, okay, it's a good time to go back to the hotel, and we'd just catch up the next day. So we had to be Responsible parents.
Yeah, but there were many nights that she slept late. Also, like she
She
was in
doesn't
her
have a
chariot
she
in the
doesn't have a
afternoon. She
schedule that
didn't
like
have a proper nap
yeah.
like she at home. At daycare, I think they nap for 1.5 hours at least. When she's home, she even naps longer in the afternoon. But in the chariot, it wasn't that comfortable for her.
We should
So
add that like Jasmine does not have a normal routines. Like I feel like a lot of Canadian kids they're in bed at her age are like 7:30, and Jasmine almost never goes to bed. I don't think we usually have even eaten by 7:30. So
yeah, but just
she has
didn't
snacks
train
after
her.
school, and then we have supper at like
She
7:38.
also sleeps with one of us or my mom next to her. She's not
Yeah,
that kind of toddler that goes to bed on her own
but she
and
sleeps well.
sleep.
She wakes up not cranky unless
Yeah.
you go to bed at midnight.
Yeah. But also, I think one of the reasons that we were not having a lot of challenges during but this tour was we have done this before with her. It wasn't her first time. Like we've done overnighter. She had slept in the tent before,
Yeah,
and she goes to daycare with Chris in her chariot.
sometimes.
Sometimes we have done like weekend travel together in her chariot. But we have also done like things around Ottawa area. So we just say, Jasmine, you want to go for a bike ride? She says yes.
Yeah, we went to some of
Um,
the beaches. She could play in the
so
sand.
she definitely had practice. Like I would not recommend people to just put their kids in the chariot and travel internationally bike touring for a kid that never been in a chariot.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
definitely something you have to work up to.
yeah, definitely like do quick ones, like start from taking them to school and then take them for 1 hour, 2 hours rides and build it from there. Because as much as you want it to be fun for you as parents, it has to be fun for the kid too.
Yeah. And what were some of the challenges we faced traveling with kids in these foreign countries, especially Belgium and Netherlands and France?
Toilets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
toilets. What a pain.
Yeah, so we're very spoiled in Canada that we have public bathroom access everywhere. Like,
Hmm.
uh, was it yesterday? I went to Old Navy, which is like a clothing brand in Canada and US. Even Old Navy has bathroom. It has like kids changing table, water fountain for drinking water,
And they're free.
and they're all free.
Yeah.
We have clothing stores, like a home goods like home appliances. They all have bathrooms.
Hmm.
Walmart, grocery stores. But in Netherlands, and Belgium, they weren't
And
accessible,
France.
and France. And if they were not free.
Yeah.
So you pay €1, 1.5 euros,
I
sometimes
think
two
two
euros
euros was the
in
one in
France,
Champs
in
Elysees.
Paris.
Oh man, three
So
dollars just to go for a pee.
and
And when you have a little kid and they're like, "I need to go pee," and you got to pay $3, and you get in there and they go, "I don't have to pee anymore." And you're
yeah,
like,
then
"Oh shit,
10 minutes
it's so
later she has to
expensive."
pay. And it was when we got to Den Haag, my friend Mojgan actually told me about that. Like she said, like, Sima, this is a big problem. I remember in Bruges, I had to go to the bathroom and it would only accept coin, and we didn't have
That's right.
cash with us. We only had credit cards, so I couldn't go to the bathroom. And luckily, it was me. It wasn't Jasmine. Like, what would I have done if
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
Jasmine?
I would have just hopped
Train
over.
stations, their bathrooms are not even clean, but you pay €1, 1.5 euro, and people line up because train stations are very busy.
Yeah.
And it's not a dirty toilet, but it's not a super clean, shiny toilet too. And yeah, that definitely sometimes when Jasmine said, Mama, I had to pee, we had to stop at a cafe, but we had to like buy a coffee or
Hmm.
something so we could use their bathroom.
Yeah, and the one place we asked about a toilet, and they said, "Oh, the restaurant just down the road has one." And we went there, and I asked them if we could use it, and they said sure. And while Jasmine and Seema were gone, I was talking with them, and they said, we never say no to somebody coming to use a toilet. The only time we say no is when somebody walks in, like they own the place and they have the right to just barge in and go to the toilet. So that's when they say, okay, you have to pay. But he's like, if people ask and they're polite, we always say yes, especially if they have this French Canadian accent that they love
Yeah,
so
he
much in
liked it.
Paris.
I don't say that like cafes and restaurants should allow non-customers to go use their bathroom. Obviously, their bathrooms are made for customers. but we would have not used the cafe or restaurant's bathroom if public bathrooms were available.
Right.
Problem is like public bathrooms are not available, so you have to go to, like in Canada, like when we go out, we never need to go to a cafe or restaurant
Mm-hmm.
to use the bathroom because
There's a
there's
bathroom everywhere.
bathroom everywhere. There are
Yeah.
public bathrooms. Even KFC, like you would buy food from KFC or McDonald's, you could still not use their bathroom for free, even if you
They didn't have
purchased
like a
food.
code or
No,
something.
you still had to pay. I
It's
remember I paid
mental.
€1.50 to
Yeah.
go to McDonald's bathroom in
Anyways,
Belgium.
that was a big challenge.
Yeah,
Food was a little bit of a challenge, only in the sense that we kind of got tired of eating, street food, restaurants and stuff. And when we finally reached Ghent, towards the end of the trip, we had a hotel that had a whole kitchenette and everything, and we immediately went to the grocery store, bought a bunch of food, and cooked up a really nice meal. And
yeah,
Jasmine was happy. She had rice, she had chicken, she had just normal food,
yeah. Um,
less all the sauces and spices.
the food wasn't a big challenge, but it wasn't definitely the kind of food that we always like. We are very used to home meal, and eating out every day wasn't easy. Uh, Chris and I, we both like spicy food, so we had to make sure that like we don't stop somewhere that has a
Even
spicy
the
food.
very first day of cycling, we got to the Bray Dunes in northern France, and we walked for almost an hour looking at places on the street, and nothing we saw we actually felt like eating. We're like, "Ugh, I don't feel like that."
Yeah.
And then Seema would see something. She's like, "How about this?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't feel like it." And then I'd see something, and finally we settled on big giant hot dog for Jasmine
Yeah.
and burgers for us, and that was it. But yeah. Um, Talking about the route, first day, yeah, we rode from the Dunkirk port, which is about 10 kilometers before Dunkirk, and we cycled all the way to the Bray Dunes, which was about 35 kilometers total that day. And actually, it was quite interesting as we cycled towards Dunkirk. And I learned more about this on the bus from the airplane to the terminal in Canada. But the huge, they call it the jungle or refugee jungle, um, huge refugee camp right on the border, right on the edge of the ocean or the straits there. Of people trying to get over to England or Great Britain, I should say. And what I heard was it used to be really big in Calais, and that got broken down by the government, and now it's kind of spread out into smaller ones. While Dunkirk still has quite a big one, and we didn't know what we were seeing at first. We saw some tents in the woods. I'm like, oh, Seema, look, people camping. And then we're cycling, and it's just more and more tents, and like very permanent tents with like big tarps and like mod tents and all kinds of structures. And then you start to notice that, oh, yeah, none of these people are Western Europeans, white. They're all from Middle East, Africa, maybe, yes, maybe even Asians. I don't know. But and more and more and more people. And, even then you start to see some clearings, and you see people lined up for food from maybe an NGO or not for profit or something. It was quite a hard sight. It was like, as a first impression, of being in Europe, and you're like, what is going on here? And then as you learn more and you realize, this is their last hope. They've been denied by the EU, and they got to get to Great Britain to have any chance at, avoiding this issues back home and maybe find safety. And it was crazy. But yeah, that was quite the shocker for sure.
Yeah, and then we went to a restaurant in Belgium. Um, if you remember, the lady said that that was one of the that town was
Day
one
two
of
of
the,
riding,
yeah, that they get on those illegal boats,
like the
hoping they get to Great
Zodiacs
Britain.
type thing.
Then many of those boats sink on the way to Great Britain, and
And
it's
then what
very
we
sad.
heard too was that for a while, France had the policy that as soon as people were in a boat, they were no longer their problem. So they would just let them go, and then maybe they'd sink on the way to London or England, or maybe they would get stopped in England, or maybe they'd get there. But apparently, then the British government was complaining to them that they're not doing enough. So word is that they're now slashing the boats. So they come up in their own zodiacs and they just slash them so they sink. I'm assuming they do this while it's closer to shore, and then people have to try to swim back to shore for survival, or they get picked up by maybe the police in
Coast
the
Guard.
Zodiac, the Coast Guard there, and get deported. I'm not sure, but yeah, quite a awful, um,
Awful scene to see,
or yeah, and
but
for the people have to experience,
have to see.
just to
Yeah,
try to find safety.
yeah.
But we
It
cycled the
was
Bray
sad.
Dunes, and not much past Dunkirk is all of a sudden it's just the whole expanse is just sand dunes and beaches as far as you can see. Like we literally rode to Bray Dunes, and then for another 3 days, I think, and all we ever saw was big dunes and beaches
Yeah.
and amazing. Like once you hit Netherlands too, the dunes had paths on them paved. Uh, phenomenal infrastructure. What a view. Um, yeah. Any stories about our travels? I guess day one we went to Bray Dunes. Then we left and we crossed into Belgium, and we forgot to get a hotel, or I forgot to get a hotel.
Oh, from Dunkirk. Yeah. So
We're at
we
Bruges,
yeah, we stayed in Dunkirk one night.
Bray Dunes.
Bradunes.
It's not Dunkirk.
Oh, was it? Okay. And then the next day we were about to check out, and Chris went to his phone to check where our hotel is in Bruges in Belgium. And he found out that he actually forgotten to book a hotel.
I probably had looked
Uh,
at places and then just never confirmed with
and it
Siba
was a
on one.
Saturday, and we're going into a very, very touristy town in Belgium in August. And so we checked out, we went to the beach. Jasmine was playing in the sand, and we were just looking for hotels in booking.com, Agoda, all those things. And it would show one room left, and we are gonna book it, and it says, oh, no more available.
$350 or something.
And then we check again, the prices are gone up. We try to book, and it says, no more available. So we got to a point that the only hotels that were available were like starting from $700, and we were not gonna stay one night only. Late.
And we literally were just in hotels for sleeping. Like
Yeah, that's it.
we'd
So we're
arrive in
like,
the evenings,
we're
leave in
not
the
gonna spend
mornings.
$700 to sleep in a hotel only. And so we found a hotel closer to Bruges, Blankenberg,
Blankenberg.
and it had 5 twin beds. That was the only room that was
Were they
available.
twins? I think they were just like small
Twin bed,
beds.
single bed.
Yeah.
Twin is single on that
Yeah,
side.
that's right.
I
You're
think
right.
that's it.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting hotel.
And it was still the most expensive hotel on our whole
Yeah,
trip. It was
yeah, it was
$300
still
for that night, or
$300.
300 something.
And it was a very, very average hotel too. And their breakfast, we paid around €17 per person. Their breakfast was very average too. But and then we went to the Bruges.
We actually
but
took
by
a train to Bruges. Yeah, it was about 18 kilometers away, but since we're trying to manage and keep our daily rides reasonable, we decided to just not jump a train, but pay for a train. And I think it cost us like €12 or €15 for the three of us to get to Bruges. And then we spent 3.5, 4 hours walking around Bruges. We actually put the bikes in a bike garage, put all the bags in the lockers, and just kind of did it by foot. In hindsight, we could have rode through Bruges and experienced.
Yeah, but it's very busy too. It's not
Yeah.
easy. Like when you go to touristy towns, it's not easy to ride your bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
prefer
we wouldn't
not
have
to.
seen the same
Yeah,
places, like
because
the little bridges and the little cafes.
you
and-
can go inside places and just leave your bike with the bags. You probably can. I think Netherlands and Belgium was very safe. But I had my work laptop in my tailfin bag, so I didn't feel comfortable just leaving my bike out, even locked with the
Yeah.
laptop in
And
the
I
bag.
do have to add having folding bikes that have suspension, pretty awesome, because some of those old cobbled streets were rough, man. Some of them, the old ones were, bone jarring.
Yeah.
So we spent a few hours walking around Bruges, doing some sightseeing. I think we had a beer in the big square in the market. Our first real Belgian beer, I think, at that point.
Was it the first one? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a flavored here. It was very good.
Yeah, I think maybe it was a La Chouffe cherry at the time. That was, I
It
think.
was the
Yeah.
last shoe
And
cherry.
which
Very
she
good
turned
beer.
out to really love. And then from there, I actually met somebody while Seymour was changing into bike clothes because we were going to cycle to Middleburg. And the guy started telling me about this town called Damme or Damme, Damme, about 10 kilometers from Bruges, which he said is, very much like Bruges. Old squares, old churches, and but much less touristy. And we went there and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
We
In the
uh
old
we
church
climbed a 43-meter tower at the church that was
with
built as
Jasmine.
a built as like like a site, whatever, a viewpoint, a tower to watch for enemies and stuff in 1330 AD, which is pretty wild. And it was really sketchy to climb up, but Jasmine did it all on her own, and she had no qualms about it. She was actually upset when we
Mm.
tried to carry her.
Yeah, she was very happy. She likes challenges. So she was very happy climbing up.
Mhm.
And the ladder too. So it wasn't just the stairs. She
Yeah, so
walked
it
up
was
the
like
ladder.
your old style, like circular stairs like a castle would have, and then at the top of the tower it was like three sets of very steep stairs slash kind of ladder, like a ladder with more of a step on them than stairs. But yeah, she climbed it all. She refused help, and I just stayed right behind her, hoping to catch her if something happens.
Nothing happened.
And yeah, and the whole story of Middleburg, it was I had booked that as one of the first hotels. I had figured, oh, it's about 50 kilometers from Bruges. I definitely want to stay in Bruges. This is good distance. Found a relatively affordable hotel, booked it, and then when we were in London, I was walking with Wayne, my old principal, and I told him we were going to go to Middleburg, and he says, "Well, Jasmine's daughter Jordy lives there, and Jasmine is one of our very best friends, who we named our daughter after." And so Seaman quickly got in touch, and we found out that Jordy was returning from South Africa just a few days before, and she was leaving the day after we were going to be there, and it was perfect. We met up, we had beer, um, with this adult. And the
19
last time
years
we
old.
saw her, she was 12 or turning 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, Middelburg was a nice little town in Netherlands too. They have a very nice downtown. Our hotel was interesting there
That
too.
was awful.
It was the room was very nice.
Yeah, the
What
room
was
was
it called?
amazing.
What was it called? Hotel in Middelburg.
Not off the top of my head.
But it had like very very narrow
My
stairs,
God, it
and
felt like the castle.
I would say like if you're bikepacking and you're booking a hotel, when you're booking it in your notes, there's like special notes that you can book. Always say like, give me ground floor. I all realize in Europe when you say first floor is actually one floor above
It's
ground
our
floor.
second floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so in Canada, first floor is ground floor. So make sure that you say you want room in ground floor because
And say
almost
I'm traveling
in
by bike, or I'm traveling with a baby,
maybe
or chariot
we
strollers.
never had any hotel room that was ground floor.
Mhm.
Everything we had to either take the
Elevator.
elevator or the stairs, and this hotel in Middelburg was in
This
the
was the
top
worst one
floor,
by far of everything. Yeah.
and
Awful.
the stairs were very narrow, but the room was nice.
Hmm.
The room Bruno, I remember
Hotel Bruno.
Hotel Bruno.
Beautiful room though.
Yeah,
Amazing shower,
mm,
huge bed. Like,
yeah.
yeah, just really nice. But yeah, just that one big downside. So from there, yeah, we cycled to Middleburg, and it was phenomenal. After Dame, we made our way back towards the coast. Then we were riding the dunes. Then we had to cross. Oh, we had to take a ferry. That was a ferry, I think.
We took the ferry
Yeah,
to get to Middelburg.
to
Yeah,
to the town near
near
Middleburg, 5
Middelburg.
kilometers to 7 kilometers from Middleburg, and then we cycled up to the capital of that area, that province, and yeah, it was really really good. From there, actually, from Middleburg, the next day, we couldn't find a hotel that was kind of in the middle distance of getting to the Hague or Den Haag. We found one that was 80 kilometers away, so I had the ideas to check with the bus. So we rode to where the bus would come by. We waited for a bus, and then I asked the driver, like, can we take bikes on these buses if we're trying to go to whatever, Reneke, I think was the name of the town. And he said, yeah, no problem. So I was like, he's like, if it's folding bike, it's even better. So
Yeah.
otherwise you had to take the wheels off, turn the handlebars maybe. And so we did. We came back after a breakfast and a little ride around town and took the bus for 40 kilometers to Reneke, I think it's called. No, it's not called that. But anyways, whatever it is. And then we cycled our 40 kilometers to our hotel in Brielle, the little town of Brielle, which was absolutely stunning. What a beautiful little town.
Yeah, Brielle was
Definitely an unexpected highlight. Um, yeah.
that that hotel, I think our room was in the ground
Oh, it
floor,
was,
but
yeah.
was on the other side of the
We had
building.
to go through like
So you had to
five
go to
doors,
5 doors. Oh man, that was just really,
and it was a
really
big
difficult.
hotel.
It was
Yeah.
a very big hotel. And
And they didn't look thrilled that I wanted to have bikes, so I had to fold them up, and I carried them through all these doors and all the way to our room. At least on the way in. On the way out,
we
we
never
just
really
rolled.
had any problem with any of the hotels saying that we can't take our um,
I think Paris was the
folding
closest we had
bikes.
to issues.
Yes, that
We can
guy
get to that
was,
later. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So Brielle was really lovely. Like even riding out of that town to make our way towards the Hague was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful ride. And then we spent 3 days in the Hague, which was or 2 full days and a half kind of thing. And hanging out with Moskan and Ali, and we went to Amsterdam. We did a day
We
in the
took the
Hague
train to
itself.
Amsterdam. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really really great.
Yep. Den Haag was very beautiful. Amsterdam was nice. It was too touristy.
Yeah, it was like
I like the rest of the Netherlands more than Amsterdam. Like I really like Brielle, Breda, Den Haag more than
yeah.
Amsterdam. But Amsterdam's
And if you're
beautiful
going to
too.
Amsterdam to see the red light district, it is not what it used to be. I was there in 2007, and I remember it was just like this maze of red lights at night. And we were there this time, and
In
Seema
the
was like, "I
afternoon.
want to see this," and but still, like even people there said, "Yeah, it's not what it used to be." It's very small, and yeah, but I mean, it was cool to see it, but
We took a
definitely different.
cruise
We did the
trip,
canal cruise, and yeah,
which is
a
I
river cruise.
recommend to people doing that. I think it's like 15, 16 euro. It's cheaper if you buy it online than on the spot. And it takes you, it's a 75 minutes cruise ride, boat ride.
Mhm.
Um, and the canals are very beautiful. So that was a good
Yeah, and lots of good history
touristy
if you
thing to
listen
do.
to it.
Yeah, I didn't listen to audio. Chris usually does
I
that
like
when he
those history
summarizes for me.
things. Yeah, I just tell her after. And then leaving the Hague or Den Haag, we decided to take a train to Dordrecht, and which is about 50 kilometers away, and so that we could spend an extra day in Antwerp. And so we got there, and then we rode our bikes to Breda, which was also a really cool city with an old castle, which is actually used by the Belgian Air Force as a training area. So that's where they have their school, and then they have their airports nearby, and they fly fighter jets and stuff around there. So it's pretty cool. There was a moat. There was all the good things you could expect in an old town. Very very pretty. And
We
there
stayed with
we
warm showers,
yeah we actually
first and
stayed with a
last.
warm shower. The only time on the whole trip. Um, it's hard to find a warm showers host when you have two adults and a kid. But Sabine and Kuhn were really, really great.
Yeah.
We had such a really nice dinner, a nice dessert. We brought the dessert. Um,
They made this
she cooked this
delicious
really delicious food,
beets
surprisingly.
pasta.
Yeah, it was like
It's like a pink,
that
red
what's
pasta
that
because
twirly pasta called? I don't know what it's called, but anyways,
not fettuccine, right?
I don't know.
Or
No.
I don't know.
Anyways, it was a little like a noodle, kind of like penne, but slightly different, and mixed with beets and feta, and
Feta, yeah, it's
really
really good.
good. Um, and I'm not vegetarian, and I even liked
And they
it.
have this like um street just for cyclists that they host warm showers. So
Yeah, above their garage.
above their
Yeah.
garage, so their bed sheets were like bicycle, and they have like bicycle pictures
Yeah, everything was bicycle. So
on
sweet.
the walls. They had like this whiteboard that they said welcome Seema, Jasmine, Chris, with a bicycle that she drew, and she wrote the Wi-Fi password on it. It
Yeah, yeah.
definitely felt very special.
Yeah, it was definitely gives us room for improvement in our own warm showers
Warm
hosting
showers.
game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so leaving the next morning, after we actually, Seema cooked a beautiful breakfast of Iranian omelet. And so we
Why?
kind of,
Because Conan said he'd been to Iran
they had been there
bikepacking
twice
twice,
bikepacking.
so I told them that I could cook them an Iranian food.
Yeah, so we did that and we spent yeah, once again, another day of leaving at like 11:30, and we cycled around town a bit. Jasmine played at the park
Yeah.
for like an hour. So in our usual fashion, it was really late when we left, and we knew we had our friend Matt in Antwerp, and just messaged him, and I said, "Yeah, we'll probably get there like near sundown." And
Oh, I should mention something else. It was related to the previous
go
questions
for it.
about traveling with kid.
Yeah.
Jasmine sleeps in the same bed with us, and so we only booked one
Oh, you're
room.
gonna talk about the hotel rooms?
Yeah,
Yeah,
hotel
good one.
rooms. When you book hotels in Europe and you say it's two adults and one child, the system force you to book two rooms.
Yeah. So if you put your child and you put their age at 3, it wants you to book 2 rooms, and it'll be like, why would you do that? That doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
so we always booked one room with a king bed or whatever, and Jasmine sleeps in the same bed with us.
Or
Um,
queen or
but
double.
yeah, so only time that we were given a little bit of attitude about that was in Paris. But other hotels, they never ask us like why you have a child, why you only booked one room, because it really doesn't make sense for parents and one child to book
Yeah,
two
yeah.
rooms. But we never really needed another bed. There were a couple of hotels, like the one with 5 twin beds and the one in Lille, actually,
Mm-hmm.
in France. They had a single bed for the child, but Jasmine never slept in it. So for parents that they travel with little kids, I would say book one room, but you can mention in
In the
your
notes,
booking
yeah.
that you have a child, and some of them they might give you an additional
And
bed.
I did write that in the one for Middleburg. I said I see that it recommends we rent 2 rooms, but we have a 3-year-old and she sleeps with us. And they said, yeah, that would be silly. Don't rent 2 rooms. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point, Seema. Thank you. Yeah, Antwerp. There was it was 50K to get to Breda, and then it was 55 ish, and then it was like another 60 to get to Antwerp. It didn't make sense to split it up by with a train or anything. Um, Seema was starting to get a cold, or it was the next day, I think.
The next day, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she was still good. It was just a long day of riding, and um, but overall, it wasn't. There was a section like we were on the side of a pretty major road between the two countries, and it wasn't the most enjoyable. But as soon as we started approaching Antwerp, we started going through some small neighborhoods and stuff, and it was really really sweet. Some beautiful houses,
Yeah.
beautiful. They're big on their shrubs there, their hedges, and they're pretty epic, epic
Yeah.
like hedges. And from Antwerp to Ghent, it was about 60 kilometers, but Sima was now feeling sick. So we did a 30K ride to one town so we could pass a castle, and then we jumped on a train and cut our time shorter that way. Do you want to talk about Antwerp at all?
Antwerp. Um, the underground
Oh, there's so much we
bicycle.
could talk
Yeah.
about. Yeah, first we were meeting up with Matt, another
Yeah.
friend.
So we went to Antwerp mainly because we wanted to meet up with Matt, and we stayed 2 nights again because we wanted to spend
Mm-hmm.
more time with Matt. And Matt is our friend from Malaysia that we knew for many years. He took us around, showed us the town. He had another friend from Poland, I think
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was, and she was
Do you
visiting
remember
too.
her
So
name?
Misha, I think,
Something like
something
that.
like that. So
Sorry, Matt.
he was our tour guide for his Polish friends and us. And obviously, we had a child, so they were patient with us going places. Antwerp is a beautiful town in Belgium. I like Ghent more than
One thing I
Antwerp, but
really
we
liked
didn't
about
go to
Antwerp is I
Brussels yet.
really liked Antwerp's I forget what the market is called, but
The
they
main
call it
square.
market, but the main square
Oh
essentially,
yeah, I forgot what it's called.
and the Groot Market.
Growth Market, yeah.
Um, just because they had these old merchant guild halls all around the square that would have been, the wool spinners or the whatever shipwrights or the this or the that. And they, because this was like a main access for trade, these merchant buildings were gorgeous, and they're old, really like 500 years old, 700 years old, whatever they are. And they're like 6, 7 stories tall, just huge compared to Ghent, where it wasn't like that. It was all much smaller. So the one in the Antwerp was definitely quite amazing. But Ghent had a lot more
And
old
it helped
parts.
that we knew Matt there, so he knew which places to go, where, what the cool places to
Good places
visit.
to eat.
Yeah, and we had a good time, and we had like a full day there because we stayed 2 nights in
Yeah.
Antwerp, so we really had time to visit the town.
And you want to talk about the tunnel?
So we a second day
It's
in
amazing.
Antwerp when we were leaving. Obviously we were on our bicycles and we had to cross the river. And the GPS shows us like you have to cross the river,
It
and
looks
the
like a bridge. You don't
cars,
really know what you're
yeah,
looking at.
cars are going underground tunnel. And we're like, obviously that's not where we go by bicycle. So we were just like very confused, like we can't go to the tunnel that cars are going. So, and there's no bridges that as far as we can see to cross. What do we do? Then we finally found that there's actually an elevator that goes
31
down
meters.
31-meter under the water, and there is a underground tunnel for cyclists and pedestrians. So we found the elevator, we got in, and there's like this little screen that shows you
Your depths.
how far down the water level you're going. And it shows -8, -18, -20, and like stops at -31, and the elevator doors open. They also have like escalator for like
For
pedestrians.
pedestrians.
And then this, it was a
And I
huge
think the elevator
elevator
said
too.
18 people or like 18 bicycles or whatever.
It
It
was
was
huge,
massive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then you go to this tunnel, and it even had speed bumps for cyclists. It was so interesting that like they made that, and it was very old, so it's
And
not something they
if you
made
want to see it,
recently.
go into my stories or my posts on Bikepack Adventures Instagram. There's some stuff there on, I
And the
guess it was
Belgium
day
highlights, maybe.
8, day 8
They so
or 7.
and so we rode our bikes in the tunnel, and then we got to the other side, and there's elevator 31-meter up,
I
and
think the
you're on
big
the other
takeaway
side
is
of the river.
we were immediately like, I could never imagine any city or the government in Canada investing in something like this for pedestrians, and that river going through Antwerp is pretty wide, not as wide as the Ottawa River, maybe as wide as the Gatineau River. Like, it's still a pretty wide
It was
river.
wide,
So like,
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty impressive. And they just built this massive, like, I could never imagine that happening in Canada. Pretty wild.
Riding bikes in Netherlands and Belgium definitely felt very safe. Uh,
I think part of the reason too, though, is that they didn't have many bridges over the river because it's still used for shipping and stuff. So you can't have small
yeah,
bridges. It'd
it's
be
one of the
massive
main
bridges
ports. Yeah.
to go. The size of the bridge to go over that river so that ships could go under it would be insane. So they have to do tunnels.
Yep. In Netherlands, we stopped even wearing our helmets because the bike
Yeah.
paths are very safe. They're far from the road, and like in Canada, I think we have a very good bike infrastructure, at least where we live. But it's not like, as we said, it's not made for
Commuting as
day to
much.
day
It's not,
living. Yeah,
yeah.
but there, like it felt very safe and very comfortable. It was like the whole country is infrastructure is made for cyclists. I felt like
And they're
cyclists
educated for it
first,
too.
human, and then cars. Yeah.
Yeah. And the education is obviously there. So cars give space. A lot of the roads were so narrow that sometimes a car would just have to stop so you could kind of ride by them,
Yeah.
and they would just stop and wait for you to go past.
Yeah.
That would, I feel like it would never happen in Canada. Like, they would just be honking at you, and so very different mindset. And also quite often the bike path along the side of the road was elevated from the road. So there was kind of not a flat curb, like not a vertical curb, but it was kind of elevated, curving upwards. And then the pedestrian walking area was elevated from that. So everybody had their spot. It was very clearly indicated with, excuse me, with in especially in the Netherlands, the bicycle paths were often red, like a red pavement, anytime you were near car infrastructure. So that if it was red, cars knew that bikes had priority. And if you're at a four-way intersection and let's say the main throughway, the bicycle paths would be red, so cars coming from any other direction, from the left or the right, would know they have to give way to bikes. But then the bicycle path for the lesser used road, it would be your normal gray asphalt color, and so that bikes knew they had to give way to cars, and it works so well and so phenomenally well.
You want
Um,
to talk about the app?
yeah. So another really really cool thing is that some of the bigger intersections, they would actually have crosswalks as well. So you'd have to stop and wait, even though it was red and you knew that you kind of had a right away, but you also had this thing telling you to stop. So you had to stop. Hey, here's me. My throat is dry. Um, you could actually download an app if you're, I believe you have to be Dutch or have a residence number. You could download the app that as you approach the light, it would detect it over Bluetooth or whatever, and it would change within 5 seconds so that you could continue without having to stop. But if you didn't have the app like us, you'd have to stop and push the button and wait maybe 15 seconds. It wasn't long. It was never long. So pretty amazing.
It's very cool.
I have water. I can stop coughing now. Good water. H2O is good. Yeah, I think my biggest thing was Netherlands just had such an amazing cycling infrastructure. Even roundabouts, bikes had priority on all the crossings. Do you want to add to that?
To sightseeings and experience? Yeah, beside the bike infrastructure, we passed like very cool canals with weeping willows like
Yeah.
close to them. Um, just like very beautiful, very, very beautiful. And just like canals, you just go, go, go. And it's just no roads for cars. So you would have not experienced it if you were on bicycle. In Netherlands, like the wind was always a challenge, but it's so beautiful. Like I think I got used to it and I stopped thinking about the wind
And
and
I
I
do feel like
enjoyed
you
the
always had a headwind.
yeah
That's so
in
true.
Netherlands
Carl
and
was right.
yeah. And every even like little towns had something to see. Like there's a castle, there's a like a I don't know, old wall or like something to see.
Pause for a second.
Drink more water.
I'll have another sip of water here.
Are you recording?
That's okay. Yeah, there was always something really nice to see, and for the most part, every little town we went through had something nice where Jasmine could play. With the exception of the day we were making our way to Breda, we were going through some really small villages, and it was really we couldn't find anything for fun for Jasmine. So that was we did find the worst splash pad ever.
Yeah, it
It
was a
was a
very,
fountain,
very
actually, I
small
think.
splash pad, yeah, slash fountain. But she still had fun
Yeah, she
playing.
played in it for a bit,
Yeah.
and well, we had a beer.
Yeah, it was right next to an Asian restaurant.
Yeah,
But most cities, like they all have like a market squares, splash pad, um, grocery stores everywhere, very accessible, so we could stop
hmm
buy stuff for Jasmine.
yeah. What was the big one we went to all the time?
Albert Heijn,
Albert Heijn. It's like it's yeah, I don't know. It's like a big grocery chain, I guess.
yeah,
Fresh juice was amazing.
fresh juice.
They
Yeah,
had
well,
machines full of
Jasmine loves
oranges, and you just
oranges,
push the button, and it starts filling your bottle.
and the local food was very good too. It is close to what we eat in
Hmm.
Canada, so it wasn't like a big surprise. We had fish and chips in London.
Very expensive fish
Very
and chips in
expensive, yeah,
London.
22 pounds and a half, I
It's like
think.
$40.
And then we had gourmet fish in Belgium. I think
I
it was
think it
Belgium.
was Netherlands, actually. It
Yeah.
was after we left Middleburg.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
When we
Uh,
got off the bus, Jasmine played, and then we had
we
fish
found
and
an
chips.
Iranian restaurant in Belgium. We also went to an Iranian restaurant in
in Netherlands.
Amsterdam.
Oh, that was in Belgium. The Iranian
But
restaurant.
then we found an Iranian restaurant in called Saffron in Belgium.
I
Before
think it
we
was
get to
either Belgium or it was Netherlands. It was maybe I forget which side of the border on it was on, but oh no, it was
it
Belgium for
was
sure. It
before
was
that
before Bruges. Yeah,
Birken
yeah. Blankenberg,
Blackenberg Berg
Blankenberg,
Blacken
Blanken.
Blankenberg.
Anyways, yeah, Seema was saying how like tired as she was of like we were going through this huge outdoor market, and she was like, oh, "I'm just so tired of hamburgers and stuff. Like maybe we can find something else." And then I see the sign says saffron. I was like, "Seema, this has to be Persian food."
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was. And yeah, what about interactions with locals and cyclists and stuff?
We definitely saw so many cyclists. Um, Bike tours too. Like we met a family from Germany. They were going up like opposite our path.
Yeah, you're across.
And they had a son older than Jasmine. I think 8 or 9 years
No,
old
no,
or 10.
he was 4.
No. He wasn't.
Zima, his bike was tiny. He was just a
Yeah, but
little
he
bit
was
older.
not
No,
four.
he was like 4 years
That
old.
is
He was
something. He was older. He
oh,
had a
maybe you're talking about a
chariot.
different place. First, no, the one with the chariot was not 8. He was 4 years old, Shima. He was just a little
He was
kid.
much bigger than Jasmine.
Okay, he was bigger because he was a boy, but anyways, he was young.
He had his own bicycle and a chariot.
And they had
So
little hooks on it that they could hang his
yeah.
bike from.
And but locals, our warm shower hosts Sabine and Kuhn, they were very cool and it was very nice of them to host us, cook dinner for us, give us their beautiful warm shower suite to stay. And we just had very good conversation together, especially because they traveled to Iran twice
Mhm.
and they had printed their pictures for each
Oh
of their
yeah, they had
trips.
really nice trip books.
Yeah, so they gave their Iran books to me for 2014 and 18. I think they've been to Iran. It just felt very good to see like
Didn't give you. They
Dutch
let you
people.
look at
No,
it.
they let me look at it. Yeah, definitely. Felt good to see like Dutch people going back to my home country
Yeah,
and appreciate it. And they even had a little tile that they bought from Iran,
yeah.
and they had it as a decoration in their house, and it looks so beautiful. Like sometimes, like I'm me as an Iranian, I don't have such thing in my home, but like
We have some
that,
tiles that we have as coasters.
yeah, but theirs was like more fun.
Yeah.
But it just felt very good to talk to people who appreciate history and been to the country I'm born twice.
Yeah. And we also had a really interesting interaction with some bike tours we met or bike packers. We ran into this older couple. I mean, probably in their late 50s, I'd
Yeah, they
say,
were.
early 60s.
Yeah.
Um, his wife was on an gravel bike, like or bike, anyways, a specialized S Works electric bike. And the husband was on also a gravel bike, S Works, really nice bikes. And they had a irreparable flat. So we stopped, tried to help them, but luckily a local came around after
We
about
stepped
30
for like an
minutes,
hour, I think.
40 minutes,
40
an
minutes.
hour, whatever. But it was amazing. It was the first day of their trip. And, like here we'd been so lucky, no problems. And they were on day one and they had a blowout that was so bad. And, but luckily it's only their day one. So it's, I'm sure they could have got home if they need to make the repairs and carry on the next day, but they're going to cycle all the way to Italy, right? Yeah. And so that was really, really neat. And we had a good conversation.
We didn't see many bike tourists with kids, like our Jasmine's age.
No.
We definitely saw a lot of cyclists with
And I was
kids.
going to say, it's the hard part is like, you saw so many cyclists. And they
Yeah,
have
but like
panniers
usually
because they're often just commuting to work or
bike
whatever.
tours, they do look like they're touring.
True.
So we didn't see so many, but it was just very beautiful to see like people cycling with their kids, with like going to the beach and carry their beach stuff on their bicycle, their dogs, like they had cargo bikes for their
Yeah,
dogs.
the trailers, a lot of
And
dog
like
trailers.
older people had e-bikes, but they still like ride. It was just very, very
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like we are so used to like driving cars in North America
Everywhere.
everywhere, and like you see a country that everybody is riding a bike, like regardless of your age, your gender, like
And yet,
everyone rides a bike.
even with this insane amount of people riding bikes, Kuhn actually worked in civil engineering and to develop projects to get more people on bikes and uh, improving slash fixing or changing infrastructure in small towns or towns that are developing that are growing so that they can accommodate the right amount of cars, but also encourage people to ride bikes to make it efficient. And it was really really cool to see how much they push to get more people on bikes because they said, yeah, well, there's still a lot of people driving, and I was thinking like, yeah, but look at all the people on bikes. I have a thing here about unexpected detours and serendipitous moments. I guess there was a lot of little detours that kind of happened naturally. Like I plotted a route on Ride with GPS, but it was meant to be very flexible. And there's quite a few times where we would just end up searching like when we went to Damme, I popped it up on my phone on Google Maps with bicycle route, and it took us a slightly different route. And then from that point on that day, we were on just a different route. We weren't following the GPS or Ride with GPS. And I didn't care. There's nothing to say that the Ride with GPS route I plotted was the better route. Who knows? Probably if I rode there a lot, I could have found out, or if I messaged more people. But planning this all, 10 days before the trip, I just plotted something to have a general idea of distances. And then from there it was just, it was going to be a little bit more winging it. I think you already talked about some advice. You talked about getting out on rides with the kids first, getting them used to it. Any other advice, things that you would do differently next time, or tips for first time bike tours,
With kids.
presumably?
Uh, Something that I haven't mentioned. Not really. I would
I kind of
repeat,
covered it.
yeah, like do little rides with the kid, teach them how to play on their own. Try to not give them tablet or phones to watch cartoon because I think you're taking the experience away from them. But
Yeah.
make a lot of breaks, stops, making sure that they're like experiencing it and having fun too. Like show them. We stopped to show Jasmine cows, ships, and
Llamas, alpacas,
llamas.
even wallaby. I think it
Yeah.
was like a miniature kangaroo. I think that's called a wallaby.
Don't worry too much about routines and sleep schedule. And we came back and she was jet lagged for a few days and she's back to her routine. Don't worry about like what if this happens, that
And we were all
happens.
jet
Like
lagged. We
it,
were
yeah,
all awake at 3 in the morning.
yeah. So which is normal. Like they follow their routine or
Yeah.
not. When you travel, they are always jet lagged. Um,
I think a general rule of thumb I would almost guess is whatever you think it would take to ride that 50 or 60 kilometers, at least double it. Maybe even, probably not triple, but like 2.5 times longer if you got a little kid, because it's probably 2 times longer with bags, or almost twice as long with bags. And then when you get a kid, you can just double that again. So yeah,
yeah, a
it's
few days ago we went for a ride around our home for 18 kilometer.
you
And
were out for
like
like less than an hour.
yeah, and then I told Chris, so like 18 kilometer when we were bike to packing, it felt like it took forever because we kept stopping. Jasmine needs to go to the toilet. Jasmine's tired. We have to take a
Yeah.
break or we have to eat. And we had to wait. We had headwind.
And we should add that like it wasn't easy traveling with kid. Like Jasmine, she would get really cranky about the 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 cover of the chariot. So sometimes she wanted it closed all the way down and it would be really hot. So we were arguing with her to like leave it open so she can get air. And then she wouldn't let us zip off the side windows because this is a change and she was being cranky. And we're like, well, you can't have it down. So then we got a screaming kid who's upset. Other times there's like a little sunshade piece on it, and she didn't want that down, or she wanted it down, but not with the tinted visor section that flaps down. And so we're trying to find solutions, And it's like every 100 meters we have to stop. So I just get the bike up to speed. And then I can hear her saying, Baba, stop. And I have to stop. And then we try to figure it out.
Oh, that's cute.
And man, like by then my legs were just aching because, but it just adds to the time. So yeah, double, maybe triple the time that it would normally take.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyways, that was, yeah, I don't know if there's too much more I would say um, differently or add on. Emotionally, it was a really good trip, I think, as a family. It was such a good experience to grow closer and just experience something together, all of us kind of all experiencing the same thing at the same time, So, yeah.
I think for Jasmine, it was definitely something she would remember because she's at the age that she remembers she got on an airplane,
Yeah.
bus, train, boat,
She was so happy.
bicycle.
Oh, the two-story bus, the double
Yeah,
decker
never in
London.
London, and she like we have done other bike tours with Jasmine. Like we did one Petit Terrain du Nord when
She
she
was
was
six
six
months. She
months
has no
old,
idea. Yeah.
200 kilometer, but she doesn't remember. She looks at pictures, and that's how she remembers. But this time, like she was old enough to remember, and think these are important for kids to I wish I had this opportunity to do this kind of adventure with my parents, but I didn't. And I
Yeah.
really love that Jasmine, like one day she would say, oh, I did all this, I went to Netherlands first time on bicycle with my
Yeah. Yeah.
parents.
And I think this is something maybe this is something because I grew up with my dad having like small airplanes. And so we traveled as a family, from the age of 3, 4, 5-ish, I think is when he first got an airplane. I forget, somewhere around between the age of 3 and 5. So we did a lot of trips when I was young, and I remember aspects of it. And, I don't forget how much it sucked as well, because being in an airplane is noisy and it's slow. And I mean, it's slow, it's fast, but you're not experiencing the world. You're just in the sky going through clouds. Where on the bike, I think is so much more involved in the environment around you. And but definitely this is something I got from my family that I'm passing on to Jasmine in terms of travel. Um, I would add there was one thing I would do differently, and it's probably in this trip I would have liked to bring full size bikes. I mentioned it earlier, um, but it wasn't the end of the world really. It's just it would have been comfortable and fun. Yeah,
I wish there were like such foldable chariots because at some places it was really hard to. We used the chariot as a stroller too
yeah,
when we were riding, and it's very bulky. And especially if you're in a busy areas, it's difficult when everybody is on like smaller strollers. Then you have this like big chariot. I wish like we had like foldable chariots that like you could. Yeah. Could take something smaller than less bulky. I would have, but I don't know if there are such gear out in the market or
yeah.
not.
I'm not sure if there is anything that's really fits that profile. Anyways, yeah, that was definitely one of the challenges because that thing is huge, and if you go in a restaurant, all of a sudden you're taking a ton of space to put this big ass stroller. But c'est la vie. We managed. Um, I guess final thoughts. I'd say if this is something that interests you, um, even with a young kid, it's a lot of fun, and you get to kind of experience the world through their eyes, and don't shy away from it like out of fear that it's too hard. Do some little earlier adventures, overnighters, camping in your backyard, things like that, and then just go for it.
Yep. Do a day trip. Like leave in the morning, pack a light lunch, and go to a town nearby, and then come back. Like start with that, and then if your kid is comfortable, do like maybe an overnighter. Go to a campsite. Don't do wild camping. So there's like easy access to
Yeah,
bathroom,
yeah,
shower, and maybe a playground. And the younger you start those kids to train them about things like that, it's easier I feel like it's easier. The kids adjust to change easier when they're younger. Don't wait
Yeah,
till they're
more
teenagers
resilient.
and don't want to do it with you.
Yeah. I do want to apologize for my coughing. My throat has definitely had a long week at school. Probably picked up something from a kid, so by Monday, I'm sure I'll be dead.
Picnic.
So sick. But anyways, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bikepack Adventures podcast. This family tour was really more than just a ride. It was a chance to slow down, connect, and experience the world through the eyes of our child, one pedal stroke at a time. Whether it was navigating cobbled streets, sharing laughs over roadside snacks, or watching my wife take on her first loaded tour with grit and grace, the journey reminded me that adventure doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to be shared. If you're thinking about touring with your family, I hope this episode gave you some practical tips and inspiration to get started. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with anybody who's curious about combining parenting and bikepacking. Until next time, keep on pedaling. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here, baby. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.